to sign in to get a voting packet, if you would. Great. I think the first thing we're going to do is do Pledge of Allegiance, so if you would stand with me. And if you would, after, please remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in observing a moment of silence to honor our men and women in uniform serving around the world, and to reflect on our community in striving to make our town a better place to live, work, and play, not only for today, but in the days to come. Thank you. You may be seated. Well, once again, welcome to the Town of Canaan town meeting. My name is Dale Barney, the Canaan Town Moderator, and I'll welcome you again here. We're going to start, I think, by going around the table here and introducing the people that are up on the stage here at the table, and we'll start here. Use the microphone.
Testing. Hi, I'm Ann Brady, Town Clerk, Tax Collector for Canaan.
Scott Johnston, Selectman.
Stephen Freeze, Select Board.
Sadie Wells, Select Board.
Bill Stone, Budget Committee.
John Bergeron, Budget Committee.
Thank you. And then here.
Hi, Sal Percy.
Chair of the Budget Committee and CIP Committee.
Sal Percy, Chair of the Budget Committee and the Chair of the CIP Committee. Ryan Armbrust, Budget Committee. I'm Michael Reese, Budget Committee.
Bob Souza, Budget Committee.
Dan Collins, Budget Committee Representative.
Sean Tain, Town Council. Chad Higginbotham, Town Administrator.
Okay, very good. Thanks, everybody. Couple of ground rules today. Every registered voter has the right to speak today and to do so in a fair and orderly manner. If you wish to speak, we're going to require that you go to the microphone that's in the middle of the auditorium there, and state your name for the record. Only only registered voters are allowed to vote if there is a vote taken today. Could anybody raise their hand if you're not a registered voter in Canaan? Please raise your hand. Okay, thank you. We have a couple of instances today where there's going to be allowed a 10-minute introduction to warrant articles, but in the interest of saving time, though, and things like that, if the assembly wants to cease discussion on something, if you feel it's going too long, anyone can make a motion to cease discussion, and if that's made and seconded, then we have to immediately take a vote at that time to cease discussion. So that is available to you, or we can talk all afternoon if you'd like. That's fine. If you have an amendment, the amendments will be accepted in writing only for the record, and only one amendment at a time will be allowed on the floor. So if anyone has the right to amend any of these articles. I think that's all we need to do to talk about for ground rules today. What we're going to do then now is move right into the warrant articles. So if you would turn to, if you have a copy of that, and you can turn to page 2 of 7. Oh, by the way, for those of you that might not know, Canaan has a 2-part town meeting system. So today is the deliberative session where we get to discuss the warrant articles and talk at length if you'd like, or make an amendment if you'd like. And then what happens then is that article, either the way it is or amended, will be the final version and will be placed on the regular ballot when we vote in March. And we'll also be voting for town officers at that time in March, second Tuesday in March. Any questions or anything before we move forward? Okay, so let's start reading the warrant and go through this. Article 2, General Fund Appropriations. See if the town of Canaan vote to raise and appropriate as the general operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amounts set forth on the budget posted with the warrant, or as amended by a vote of the first session for the purpose set forth therein, totaling $6,376,757. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $6,516,200 with certain adjustments required by previous action of the town or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 4013 to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. The selectmen and the budget committee do recommend passage of Article 2. To start this off, I need a motion to discuss Article 2. Can I have a motion and a second?
I make a motion. Do you want to move forward?
All right, thank you. Is there any discussion on Article 2? There being none, we'll place that on the article as written. Okay, Article 3. Appropriate to water and sewer operations. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $381,860.72 for water and sewer operations for the town of Canaan, with $210,750.29 to be raised and appropriated for water and $171,110.43 to be raised and appropriated for sewer. These water and sewer appropriations are to come by and through water and sewer user fees with no amount to be raised from property taxes. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $351,961 with certain adjustments required by the previous action of the town or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 4013 to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. The selectmen and the budget committee both recommend the passage of Article 3. May I have a motion to discuss Article 3? Okay. And a second? Thank you. Any discussion? Article 3.
Article 3 is Canaan. I see that there's a budget committee member that voted against this article, and I'm curious at why that would happen. If we don't have water and sewer in the downtown area, we're all in trouble. It's our businesses, it's an enormous amount of households. And I just would like an explanation about why a budget committee member would turn this down.
Anyone care to answer?
I believe I was.
No, you have to use a microphone.
Yep.
I believe I was the budget committee recommendation that was not an approval of this, and I voted that way because I believe that the funds haven't been used in the best availability, and I think it is showing in the people's bills, and I think there are options to look for grants and other ways other than taxing people more money. That's why I voted no.
It's not a tax.
Of appropriating funds.
Any other discussion, Article 3? All right, there being no further discussion, we'll place Article 3 on the warrant as written. Article 4, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $169,000 to be added to the Highway Equipment Capital Reserve Fund previously established in 2025. Funds will be appropriated from the undesignated fund balance, which includes the unused $169,000 allocated in the general fund for payments on the equipment lease that has been delayed due to supply chain issues. The Budget Committee and the Select Board both recommend passage of Article 4. I have a motion to discuss Article 4.
Move to discuss.
Thank you. And second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on Article 4? There being none, we'll place Article 4 on the warrant as written. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $229,240 to be added to the Highway Road Construction Capital Reserve Fund previously established in 2025. The Board of Selectmen and the Budget Committee recommends the passage of Article 5. May I have a motion to discuss Article 5? Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion, Article 5. There being none, we'll place it on the ballot as written. Article 6, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $7,500 to be added to the transfer station special revenue account previously established in 2008. The Board of Selectmen and the Budget Committee both recommend passage of Article 6. May I have a motion to discuss? Thank you. Second? Thank you. Any discussion on Article 6? There being no discussion, we'll place Article 6 on the warrant as written. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $96,000 to be added to the Government Buildings Capital Reserve Fund created in 2024. The Selectmen and the Budget Committee both recommend passage of Article 7. I have a motion to discuss. Okay, second? Thank you. Any discussion on Article 7? All right, we'll place it on the ballot as written. Article 8, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $112,000 to be placed in the EMS Capital Reserve Fund for Canaan's emergency medical service. The Board of Selectmen and the Budget Committee both recommend passage of Article 8. I have a motion to discuss Article 8. Thank you, and thank you. Any discussion? Article 8.
Well, good morning, Canaan. I have a question. This article proposes to add $112,000 to the EMS Capital Reserve Fund. I believe, elsewhere in the budget, there was a line item for the town of Canaan to fund the operating budget of EMS. I don't know the exact number, somewhere in the neighborhood of $180,000 or so. Perhaps someone on the budget committee can help me with that detail. Anyway, my question is, why both? I thought we were supposed to fund EMS as an enterprise fund from the general fund budget, and that was the end of that. I don't understand why we needed an additional appropriation of $112,000 to a separate capital reserve fund.
Mike, help on that?
The reason for the provision rule. Underneath, bottom.
Okay, you're on now. Go ahead.
Hello, okay. The reason for the increase, it hasn't, the $185,000 the town has put for the EMS service goes back 5 or 6 years. The issue is some of the expenses have increased, but the one item that was not covered in that $185,000, it went to the operations fund, and all of that fund was used to buy the last ambulance, but there's no money allocated based on the cost of services and everything else for any equipment upgrades. In addition, through the CIP, this year there were several items added to the CIP program, which includes medical equipment. Anything that has a 5-year life or costs more than $10,000 is added into the mix. And therefore, when you look at the cost over life of all of that equipment, this is the number that comes out that we have to put in to be sustainable. And actually, it's a little bit low and needs to be increased if we're going to properly fund our EMS services.
Follow-up. Is Canaan the only town kicking into this fund that this $112,000 is going to, or are the other towns in the district also contributing capital reserve money?
In all of the contracts that we write to each town, we are including the cost of the capital sustainable funding allocation. The appropriation is put into the total cost of the EMS service, and each of the towns has a percentage that they pay of that, which includes a portion of the capital fund, yes. This comes out of the general fund and goes directly there. All the rest of that comes into the general fund in a different location. This has to be done based on the calculation, but we are including that in the cost to the contracts.
I'm sorry, did you just say this a moment ago, this $112,000 comes out of the general fund?
That is a procedural issue. Okay, we cannot take money from other towns and put it into this fund. It has to go into the general fund and then to the reserve funds by vote of approval.
I'm sorry, the money from the other towns.
The money from the other towns
right.
has to, yes.
Okay. On the subject of money from other towns, it's my understanding that the town of Grafton has been receiving services from EMS for years, but they have paid nothing. If that's true, as a taxpayer, I would like the town of Canaan to tell the town of Grafton they are cut off. No more service. I know that sounds cruel, but they cannot just go along for free forever. Thank you.
Actually, just last week, we've been sending letters to Grafton since September. We actually did send a letter on December 16th stating that if the town of Grafton did not want to contribute to services, and at that time we were using the $1,400 per call, that as of January 1st, we were going to cease services. They wanted to meet early January, but we had a conflict with meetings. We just was it last week? Oh, it was Tuesday of this week. Had a meeting with the Grafton Select Board and basically reached an agreement that we are going to move forward with the potential of the town of Canaan managing their EMS service, but they will have to pay, and we're working on that process. The first year, we just reached a verbal agreement. Hopefully next week, we'll have a signed agreement that we will be getting $50,000 for the first year, and over a couple of years, the total value of that process will be close to $170,000. So we are getting funds from Grafton as of now.
Any further discussion? Yeah, you're on.
I did have a question as well. How's that? Better? My question was, do we know how many service calls the Canaan ambulance provided to Grafton in 2025?
I know that we were north of 70, but I don't remember the exact number.
That's what I thought. And so if you say we're averaging 1,400 per call, right?
No, 1,400 a call is the total cost of the town's fire and rescue services divided by the number of calls we get a year in total, and then saying we do this many calls for this town, therefore it costs this much.
Understood.
Anyone else? Further discussion?
I just want to add in that,
Could you state your name first before you go?
excuse me, sorry about that. My name is William Stone. So I just want to add that, every town has a mutual aid agreement, in particular with like Upper Valley Mutual Aid, that goes for fire as well as EMS. And we would expect that same help from other surrounding towns, say if we had like a structure fire, for example, okay? So I can understand that concern, completely understandable there. But it is something where we do all lean on each other for that help and for emergency medical services as well. Thank you.
Yes.
Just a little look. This one. Is it on now?
Okay, just a little clarification. Mutual aid was set up, and that was fire coverage only. All of your towns and areas, the EMS side of it was basically covered by fast squads, which are independent auxiliaries that were operating in each town. So we never had any mutual aid agreements for EMS. This is where the problem has come in, is that we are now working under contracting so that we do get paid for the EMS side of the work.
Further discussion? All right, there being no further, we'll place it on the ballot as written. Article 9, to see if the town will vote to discontinue the existing fire truck capital reserve fund created in 1979. Said funds with accumulated interest to date of withdrawal are to be transferred to the municipality's general fund in accordance with state law. The reason for discontinuing this reserve fund is due to the addition of several associated fire department pieces of equipment that meet the financial requirements of being capital purchases are included in the CIP plan. Board of Selectmen recommends the passage of Article 9. May I have a discussion? No, a motion to discuss. Thanks. Okay, and second. All right, any discussion on this article? There being none, we'll place it on the warrant as written. Article 10, see if the town will vote to establish a fire department capital reserve fund under the provisions of RSA 35-1 for the purpose of funding the purchase of any and all fire department related equipment, including but not limited to vehicles, SCBA equipment, UTV, and trailer turnout gear, hoses, extraction equipment, rescue boat, as well as any other commonly recognized accessory equipment items that assist with the goals, purposes, and obligations of the Canaan Fire Department, as well as to raise and appropriate the sum of $175,100 to be placed in this fund. Further, to appoint our name, the Select Board, as the agents to expend from said fund. The Selectmen and the Budget Committee both recommend the passage of Article 10. May I have a motion to discuss? Okay, second?
Second.
All right, and we have a second. Any discussion on Article 10? There being none, we'll place it on the warrant as written. Article 11, see if the town will vote to appropriate $589,143 to be placed in the Fire Department Equipment Capital Reserve Fund to come from unassigned fund balance. This represents the funds from the Fire Truck Reserve Fund dissolved in Article 9 and needs to be transferred in order to maintain the balance to pay for a new fire truck with a projected delivery in 2028. The Selectmen and the Budget Committee both recommend the passage of Article 11. May I have a motion to discuss? Okay, and a second? Thank you. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Thomas Opal. I support this. I'm just wondering, I know last year we had a couple of cleanup, similar sorts of funds that were anachronisms or needed to be changed for technical or legal reasons. I'm just wondering if the board now believes that this is the last of this. Just out of curiosity. I'll take the head nod as a yes.
Further discussion? All right, we'll place Article 11 on the warrant as written. Article 12, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $70,000 to be added to the Police Capital Reserve Fund previously established in 2025. The Selectmen and the Budget Committee both recommend passage of Article 12. May I have a motion to discuss? Thank you. Second? Thanks. Discussion, anyone? There being no discussion, we'll place Article 12 on the warrant as written. Article 13, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $69,920 to be added to the Bridge Capital Reserve Fund previously established in 2005. The Selectmen and the Budget Committee recommend the passage of Article 13. May I have a motion to discuss? And a second? Thank you. Any discussion on Article 13? There being none, we'll place Article 13 on the warrant as written. Article 14, shall the town modify the provisions of RSA 7239A for elderly exemption from property tax in the town of Canaan based on assessed value for qualified taxpayers to be as follows. For a person 65 years of age up to 75 years, $65,000. For a person 75 to 80 years, $75,000. For a person 80 and older, $100,000. To qualify, the person must have been a New Hampshire resident for at least 3 consecutive years, own real estate individually or jointly, or if the real estate is owned by such person's spouse, they must have been married to each other for at least 5 consecutive years. In addition, the taxpayer must have a net income of not more than $32,000, or if married, a combined income of less than $48,000, and own assets not in excess of $70,000, excluding the value of the person's residence. The elderly exemption was created in 2022. The Board of Selectmen recommend the passage of Article 14. May I have a motion to discuss? And a second, please. All right, we have a motion and a second, and we have a speaker. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Helen Skeist. I find that the explanations are very helpful, and I feel like sometimes in the past they've been listed on the warrant articles below them. My request would be that either they could be listed that people read the article and then see the explanation, or else the handout we have here today, to have it available when you check in to register to vote, that you could be given that, because as we all know, most of the people who will vote aren't here, and a lot of them won't have read it on the emails that we get. So I just would hope that there'd be a written form of the explanations readily available for the voters. Thank you.
Helen, that's fine. I think we can do that for, when we're going to do ballot voting and have handouts, so.
Any further discussion, Article 14? Okay, so we'll place that on the warrant as written. Article 15, shall the town modify the provisions of RSA 7237B for disabled exemption from property tax in the town of Canaan based on the assessed value for qualified taxpayers to be $100,000. To qualify, the person must have been a New Hampshire resident for at least 5 consecutive years, own the real estate individually or jointly, or if the real estate is owned by such person's spouse, they must have been married to each other for at least 5 consecutive years. In addition, the taxpayer must have a net income of not more than $32,000 or married, or if married, a combined net income of less than $48,000 and own assets not in excess of $70,000, excluding the value of the person's residence. The disabled exemption was created in 2022, and the Board of Selectmen does recommend passage of Article 15. May I have a motion to discuss? And a second? Any discussion on 15? All right, no discussion. We'll place that on the warrant as written. 16, shall the town modify the veterans tax credit in accordance with RSA 7228 from its current tax credit of $200 per year to $400 per year. The veterans exemption was created in 2023. The selectmen they recommend this article. May I have a motion to discuss Article 16? Thank you. Second? Second. Thank you. Any discussion? There being none, we'll place it on the warrant as written. Article 17, shall the town modify the provision of RSA 7235 for an optional tax credit of $2,800 for a service-connected total disability on residential property? The disabled veterans exemption was established in 1990. Board of Selectmen recommends the passage of Article 17. May I have a motion to discuss? Thank you. And a second? Thank you. All right, any discussion? Article 17. There being no discussion, we'll place Article 17 on the warrant as written. Okay, we're moving into the petition warrant articles now. There's been a change in the way that we approach petition warrant articles, and what we're going to do is we're going to, once I read the article, we're going to allow the primary petitioner to speak first and to have the opportunity to introduce the petition warrant article. So we're going to do that right after I read this, okay? All right, Article 18, to see if the voters of Canaan will approve contracting for an animal control officer, submitted by petition. The Board of Selectmen does not recommend, and the Budget Committee does recommend the passage of Article 18. This position will be a part-time contracted position with an expected annual expense not to exceed $9,000. It is estimated the passage of this article will increase the tax rate 0.02 per thousand, or $4.30 on the median home worth $226,500. So we're going to invite the primary petitioner to speak on this. And the primary petitioner is Dan Collins. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming out. My name is Dan Collins. I am the primary petitioner. And first time putting forth petition warrant articles, so bear with me, please. Canaan has seen a substantial increase in the number of calls for animal controls, burdening our police department and making officers unavailable for other law enforcement duties. The purpose behind my petition is to get relief for our police department and get our chief, his officers, taking care of other things and animal controls complaints. This was based off not only a budget committee meeting, some information that was discussed at that, but I've also met with Chief Porter and gone over the animal complaint calls. And I also have received the animal complaint dispatch from last year. There were approximately 162 calls for animal control. In my reading through them, there was roughly 17 of those that were not for domestic animals. Speaking with Chief Porter, which I would say I appreciate him and his department's efforts on trying to address this issue. They've been working hard at it. But I think that there's a call for more of someone who specializes in animal control and instead of trying to ask one more thing from our department. During my conversation with Chief Porter, we talked about how just that week alone, one day there were 5 calls that totaled about 7 hours for an officer. So my purpose of this isn't only, really what it is to get boots back on the ground. Chief Porter needs his officers to be taking care of things that police officers should be taken care of. And if we have the option to get an animal control officer, that's what I'm requesting. That's the basis of my petition. You know, if I figured if we took that 7 hours and did it over 52 weeks at roughly $35 an hour that we pay our officers, it's about $13,000 roughly. I mean, there's some other figures here. If we, you know, if you did 162 calls minus the 17 that weren't domestic, it's 145. Say it's, you know, 2 hours per call. We come up with around a little over $10,000 based off the average hourly salary. But again, it's not only about the money, it's about getting his officers' boots back on the ground. I did take the time in my petition to try to pay attention to the language, and I specifically added to contract an animal control officer instead of hire someone else under our payroll for a few reasons. Largely based off conversations I've had with animal control officers over the last year or so. I've spoken with a few of them from different jurisdictions, and I have come to realize that the way that they prefer to conduct their business with municipalities is to contract out with separate towns, because they realize that most towns our size that need their help don't have the extra $40 or $50 or $60,000 sitting around to pay someone to wait until the phone rings. So they prefer to contract with multiple towns. This particular animal control officer that I spoke with is, from what I'm finding, a pretty well-known control officer, and they let me know that their average town is between $7,500 and $9,500 a year. So those are the numbers that I sat down with the administrator with based off the professionals that I spoke to. Okay. That's that.
Okay, we have to play a little bit of catch-up. I forgot to ask to discuss this article. So could I have a motion to discuss? In a second. All right, any further discussion on Article 18? Yes. I think it's on.
Could I just add something real quick before we get into discussion?
Hold on, go ahead.
Kind of a procedural question. Could we change the Board of Selectmen, yes 0, no 3, to does not recommend this article? Is that a decision for the Select Board? Is that a warrant article motion? What's the procedure?
That is what the Select Board did want to do, and that because this went in as it is, the microphone. Oh, sorry.
It's on. It's on. Go ahead.
Because the language went in as it sits to the DRA. A motion to amend that, to change it to say does not recommend for both Article 18 and 19 would be required, and then we can make that modification for the ballot.
Okay, so I would like to move that we change the wording from recommends to does not recommend.
I'll second that. I got it right here, Dale.
Okay, so we do have an amendment to change, to say the select board does not recommend this article, to change the wording in that. Any discussion on this amendment? All right, there being no further discussion, all those in favor say aye. Oh, okay. Dan, there's someone behind you that wants this. All right, well, go ahead. You were there.
I think I may need to request an amendment based off the information I was just given, and I want to make sure that it gets done appropriately and timely.
Let me interrupt you for a second. So we have one amendment on the floor. That's either going to be passed or not passed. That's what we're discussing right now. Any discussion on this amendment? There being no further discussion, all those in favor of the amendment say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No? All right, the ayes have it. Okay, it's been amended. Now we can discuss. It's wide open now.
Staff from Canaan. My question, I have two questions. Who would the animal,
Can you adjust your microphone so they can hear? There you go.
who would the animal resource person be accountable to? And the second question is, would that involve calls to Orange and Dorchester?
So I think that's more of a select board decision, but my vision is that the select board would oversee the animal control officer. And I don't know as far as the other towns. I think it wouldn't be a bad option either for us when we're trying to put this together, but again, it's for the select board, I think, to decide. But maybe as we're trying to figure this out, if it does get approved, we maybe reach out to those other towns, see if they want to contribute towards it, and that might make it easier for all of the towns and easier, to fund whoever the animal control officer is. So I would be in favor of that. I don't know if it's an option, but I think ultimately it's a select board representative issue, Chris. I think. Yeah.
Next.
Thank you, Claude. So it's been brought to my attention that I may need to request an amendment to appropriate some funds to this. Is this not worded correctly, and is there an option for the way this is worded for it to not be funded?
We had that conversation with the DRA, and they asked, how will this happen because we put the money in? They said we didn't have to put the money in it at all. But the fact that we listed that below, she's asking how would it be paid for, and we had told them if it's approved, we have a contingency fund is what we have it set up as at this point. So, that's how it's set up. It can be amended to add not to exceed X amount of dollars if that's what's desired by the group.
Sure, and again, I think ultimately it's a select board decision of how it's funded, but my vision would be that there be some cost association with each animal complaint, and that cost to the resident go towards the funding of the animal control officer. And my thought on that is twofold. That it may help us as a community try to manage our own situations a little better, and it will certainly help with the funding of the position.
Claude Moy, Canaan. This proposal sounds like a good idea to me. I just have two questions. It's not clear exactly the way it's written. How would this animal control officer be paid? Mainly what I'm wondering is, would it be on a per-call basis? You know, would the officer bill the town for 2.5 hours for a particular incident and then be paid for that 2.5 hours? That's my first question. And my second question is, I would like to know why the Board of Selectmen recommends against this.
Okay, I can speak for myself, only I can't speak for my fellow board members. For me, there's not enough information here. So some of the questions that you have, I would have as well, Claude. I don't have any research. I mean, I heard Dan's proposal, but I don't have research on what this would actually cost. And I haven't had a complaint from the police chief about this. So he's not come to us to say, hey, we're devoting too many hours to this. So without additional information, I was not comfortable recommending it.
Yeah, myself, we have not sat down as a board to discuss this because we haven't been given all the information. Myself, I voted against this because one of the things that hasn't been clarified, if that animal complaint has anything criminal in it, say somebody got bit, that has to involve the police because it's criminal. So I don't know what percentage of the calls that the town had involved any criminal, how many were just a nuisance call, but nothing has been brought forward as to how it would be paid for. We have no idea at this point, even if it was a regional animal control, where are they coming from? Is it going to take them an hour just to get here? And who's paying for that? Nothing has been set up as far as any charge to the people. So, I mean, I voted no because there's not enough information as to how this would actually function and where payment would be made to and coming from.
So I guess my response to that is most of those reasons that you voted against this are things that would be determined after you started the process, in my own opinion. You know, figuring out who you're going to contract it with, coming up with terms of payment, you know, those sort of things, all to me seem like things that happen as you're discussing and looking into different animal control contracts.
A lot of this has to be discussed and determined beforehand before you can put it out to be advertised, because whoever is going to apply to do this job is going to want to know this information, what's expected of them, what the payment's going to be before they put their name in for this. And unfortunately, these are all things that at the late hour that this came in have not been discussed or looked into.
Go ahead.
No, Rhonda. Can you tell me, in your preparing this, do we write a check for $9,000 and the guy covers the year, or do we write a check for so many per call not to exceed $9,000?
Again, I do not have the answer for that. I just put the petition forward. I would trust my officials, the select board, to come up with those details and act appropriately. I did, however, come up with an estimated cost associated, so.
Well, the number you said came from the people you talked to that covered other towns. They didn't tell you how they covered them?
My understanding is that, so when she gave me a rate of $7,500 to $9,500 per town, that's what she said. The average town pays her. She covers 5 different towns, and it's between $7,500 and $9,500 per town. So it sounded pretty definitive to me. So I guess if I'm put on the spot to have to try to come up with some sort of analysis of that conversation, it would be that that is a yearly amount for her.
Thank you.
Mark Wilson, Canaan, New Hampshire. So this animal control officer, what authority do they have? If we vote them in, what authority do they have to do anything? Are they sworn by some type of state agency? They're sworn in by the police department? Do they have to go to the police academy? And what rights do they have to do anything? And do we have a process of what happens with certain situations with dogs or other animals?
Is that to me, Mark? Oh, question to me.
Well,
I don't know
I-
the answer, so,
Right.
yeah, that's, yeah.
If that question was addressed to me, the answer to that is, first of all, I don't remember the entire question because I was reading. And secondly, my position is I put the petition forward based off the information that I looked up and my concerns as a resident. And I certainly don't expect everybody to agree with me, and that's fine if we don't. I don't have all of the answers. I didn't overnight turn into an animal control officer specialist. The conversations I had seems as though these are licensed animal control officers who do have to take some training. They are versed in the laws specifically, and I know with conversations I've had locally, you know, part of the thing that takes some of the time of the officers is the fact that they're not really versed in all of those laws. So after they go out and deal with the initial complaint, often they have to come back and then research that and put a certain amount of time into it. And I think the animal control officers are more versed in the specific laws. That's my findings.
Hi. I guess
It was on Sal.
Yeah, yeah, now? Okay. I guess my question is, I would hope that we could get Chief Porter to comment on what his thoughts are on this. Thank you, Chief.
Good evening, Ryan Porter, Chief of Police. The police department responded to 6,500 calls in 2025. As Mr. Collins said, 160 of them were animal-related complaints. They are certainly time-consuming, and although I appreciate Mr. Collins' efforts here, I'm not sure myself how the ACO would be either appointed by the board. Do they fall under the police department? I do know that there's a statute or several statutes in New Hampshire that govern this. Irregardless, though, the animal control officer is not going to have the authority to conduct investigations, make arrests, issue summons. That's what we do. I think they can issue summonses on certain, leash law violations or something like that. But everything else is still going to fall on the police department. The police department is still going to have to respond to these calls when there's a dog running in the road, causing a traffic hazard. I don't know who we're going to call, where they're going to come from. I don't know any of that either. But I do appreciate Mr. Collins' effort to try and alleviate some of the pressure on us as well. But, thank you.
Further discussion? All right, there being none, we'll go ahead and place it. It has been amended, and so the amendment is that it changes the Board of Selectmen does not recommend passage of this article. And we'll place that on the warrant as amended. Let's move on to 19. To see if the voters of Canaan will approve requiring that the creation of any new town position first be approved in a separate warrant article at a regular or special town meeting. The selectmen does not recommend, well, should say does not recommend, it says 3 now. So I expect we're going to have another amendment on that. All right, may we have a motion to discuss Article 19? Thanks, and second? Okay, I'm going to, yes. Yeah. At this time, I'm going to ask the petitioner, the primary petitioner, to come up. That would be Dan Collins. If you would come up and go ahead and introduce your petition warrant article.
Thank you. Again, Dan Collins. Appreciate everybody coming out today. The purpose of this petitioned article is, I believe, the residents should have the option of vote on year-over-year tax increases and department expansions and creations of new positions in areas that I've identified as a budget committee representative, and these are year-over-year increases. An overview of the budget process in general, in case some of us don't realize. So in the fall and winter, early winter, your budget committee gets together for a series of meetings, and during those meetings we meet with department heads, and the department head oftentimes along with the town administrator, and the department head will put forward to the budget committee their wants and needs and hopes for whatnots. And then the budget committee discusses that, gathers the information, processes it, and figures out how to make a recommendation to the select board. This article was prompted by an early October budget committee meeting, where in that meeting, a department head, along with the administrator, presented to the budget committee an item to be put forth on the warrant article for an expansion of that department, and to take that department from a 6-person department to a 7-person department. As that discussion continued, it was asked, representative of the budget committee had mentioned that, there possibly would be a risk that if that particular request went on the warrant, that it may not get appropriate voter approval. Of course, there's a risk of that. With further discussion, based off the information the budget committee was reviewing, it was put to vote that evening in the budget committee of whether it would be presented as a warrant or whether it would be just added into the budget that evening. And it was approved 7-2 to be added into the budget that evening instead of put forward on a warrant. This article is no surprise to my committee. This isn't an I got you moment. From that very minute forward, basically for every meeting after that for the rest of the session, I lobbied in some sort of a way with my committee to maybe consider some different options. I do feel like year-over-year tax increases should be voter approval. This is not the only unforeseen year-over-year tax increase in the form of department expansions. We've had positions created within departments, expansions of departments, creation of new positions, and this is all done without the option of vote, and it's all year-over-year tax increases. As I've explained to my fellow committee members, I feel like the people who voted for me did so with the expectation that I'll act on their behalf and I'll be a voice for them. And I feel like removing it from the option to be on the warrant is the opposite of that. I choose to be involved, 4 or 5 years ago. Really started attending some meetings, and I got off my couch and chose to be involved. And I did that so I could advocate for myself and what I think I feel is right for my tax dollar. Along with that comes advocating, hopefully, for the people who voted for me, or the majority of them at least. I will tell you, I do not believe that this decision, the committee did not make this decision with ill intent. That is not the purpose of this. I believe they have safety in mind, but again, I feel that we should be aware of year-over-year increases. This is not based on any specific request. This is not based off the department that requested it. This is a procedural petition, in my opinion. In addition, I would like to say, as I said to a couple of the committee members before the proceedings started today, I have a great appreciation for anyone who sits on boards and committees in their local municipality. It's a thankless job. It's very difficult to relay information to folks in an appropriate manner when they don't really have all of the facts. And I thank them for their effort and what they do, and I think they are a positive group who do have the better interest in Canaan in their thoughts. I have an appreciation for the department that made this request. I understand the request. I think that the department is striving to meet their goals and expectations of our community, and they're working in an environment where it's very difficult not only to obtain help, but to retain help. And I thank them and appreciate their efforts as well. Again, this is a procedural thing in my mind. I think if it is a year-over-year tax increase, that we should be voting on it, and this particular thing is one that I identified in a budget committee meeting. For all of the residents who come out today to be involved in this process, I thank you as well. This is how we get some sort of knowledge on what we're voting on when we walk into the voting booth, and you should applaud yourself. As we can see, there's not a lot of folks here, so thank you. A suggestion that I would have is maybe put some thought into what part of your tax bill bothers you the most. Consider attending some meetings and get some information that may spark an interest in you that allows you to become more involved. And then I will tell you it's a frustrating feeling, but it is also in a way a rewarding feeling to know that you have some input, even if it doesn't actually go that direction. You're able to advocate for yourself and your tax dollars by being involved. You have firsthand knowledge, Facebook knowledge of our needs and concerns, and of the positive things in our community. It's not all negative. We put a lot of hard work in here, and I appreciate these folks. But based on that, that's again why I put this petition forward. Go ahead.
I just want to give my position on this to the voters of Canaan. Obviously, the town meeting, as the legislative body as you stand today, has certain powers and abilities to impact the operation of the town, especially through approving or disapproving appropriations. However, the legislative body does not have the ability statutorily to impose any restrictions on the staffing for the town. That's left to the executive body, and obviously in Canaan, that's the Board of Selectmen. So they determine the amount of staffing that occurs in Canaan. So I just wanted to let the voters of Canaan know that if this were to be approved, the best this would be is what we call advisory in nature only. It has no legal impact or legal restriction on the Board of Selectmen as to what staffing levels they're going to have from year in, year out.
Yeah, I'd like to make an amendment to the thing, just to change it to Board of Selectmen does not recommend.
we have an amendment to change it to the Board of Selectmen does not recommend. Let's see, let's have make a motion to accept an amendment in a second. Okay, any discussion on this amendment? There being no discussion, all those in favor of the amendment say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no? All right, the amendments has been approved, and now are there any further discussion as amended? Are you coming down to speak?
Yes,
Okay.
I just don't move as fast as I used to.
Nancy Bertram. Thank you for the clarification on whether or not this has any legal implications. That was very helpful to me. I did want to ask one clarification from Dan. I'm assuming in using the term new position that you essentially mean a completely new position as opposed to a position which is modified, becomes a new title, and might be construed as a new position because it doesn't match what was previously listed as the names of positions in whatever department.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that I reviewed the correct language. And my position and the purpose behind this is just that. So it's not internal department like promotions and things like that. It's to actually create a new position in town, which would be, you know, if one department has one person now and we want to now make that a two-person department, that's expanding and creating a new position. You're welcome, thank you.
Further discussion on Article 19 as amended.
I'd just like to add real quick, again, I want to reiterate the fact that this is not based on any one department, nor does it have any bearing on any promotions that have happened in town, anything. This is not that. This is a procedural petition, in my belief, to prevent the year-over-year tax increases of that nature going forward. It does not stand with or against any of the recent hires or promotions or anything to do with that. That's not my opinion or my view.
Further discussion? All right, we'll place Article 19 on the warrant as amended. Article 20, to see if the voters of Canaan will approve expanding the select board from 3 members to 5 members. The selectmen recommends this article, and as well as the budget committee recommend the passage of this article. Can I have a motion to discuss Article 20? Second? All right, we'd like to invite the primary petitioner to come up and introduce this petition warrant article.
Thank you, folks, again. Dana Collins. The purpose of this petition warrant article is the fact that I believe that there is way too much to do in our town for just 3 board members. Have sat on the board for 3 years. During those 3 years, not only was I a select board representative, I sat on the trustees of the trust funds for a short time, the capital improvement committee, the budget committee, the planning board, the museum preservation committee, the meeting house preservation committee, the economic development committee, the community center exploration committee, the emergency operations management committee, I'm sure there's more than that. Now, I did not sit on all of those at the same time, but there are enough boards and committees, rightly so, I feel, in our town, and they require, or at least the majority of them require, a select board liaison. In my belief, I wasn't there just to be a seat filler or a signature on a piece of paper. I was there to try to engage in the meetings and the committees that I sat on, and I hope the members that I sat with understood that. So therefore, if you're a select board representative, if you're a select board representative, and then on top of that, you're sitting on 3 to 5 other committees, and you're going to 2 or 3 meetings a week for 3 to 4 different committees, including the board, then you have to process the information. You have to try to do some homework, some research. You have to try to come up with some answers or input. It's a kind of a common theme. It's become a joke that Dan is the guy that's up at 3 o'clock in the morning watching the old videos and reviewing the minutes and all that. Well, it's because that's the only time I had to do it. I don't sleep a whole ton anyway, but I can tell you there's other things that I probably would have chose to do. Now I don't really think of anything else that is my go-to. So, I feel like the town could benefit greatly, and I feel like not only that, our select board representatives could benefit from it as well. It could take a little bit of the stress off them. It's an awful lot to do. And in my opinion, that's partly why the town of Canaan finds itself in the situation it does, is because it can get overwhelming. And I think it's very easy to start maybe not even realizing that you're not fulfilling your commitment as much as you hoped to. And then, it leans on our administration and the folks in our town offices to be more managing and running our town than our select board representatives, because they're spread so thin. There were a lot more than just those boards and committees. With those, you've got your water projects that are going on. There was the Goose Pond Dam that was going on. There's all the bridges in town that need to be, right? So there are all these things, and I just feel like if we spread that out among some more people, and it also, I think, would give more transparency. There are more people that would be having conversations in town. You open it up to two more households at that point, who go out and hopefully they're talking about what's going on in their household and their discussions. And I think it could invite more involvement in our community. I think it would alleviate a lot of stress.
Hi. I would like to get some input from the current select board, what they think of this particular warrant.
For myself, Dan's right. There's a lot on the select board's plates. There are, a lot of what he says is true. I also think that, I did vote yes on this, and I voted yes just because I think it is up to the voters. But we've got, 4,000 voters in this town, and 25, 30 in here right now. The last 2 out of the last 3 select board elections have run unopposed. We can't get people to fill those positions. My concern is if it's not filled, then they get appointed, and that could really have a negative effect on the select board, in my opinion. I also think that a 5-member board would be less effective. And I think a 3-member board can be more versatile and move forward faster on things. So.
I voted recommending this. I spoke to some people in towns that went from 3 to 5. They all were very pleased to see it for the reasons that Dan gave, is that with so much taking place now, what we have going on in Canaan, I don't foresee a lot of this slowing down in years to come. We've still got problems to solve. You could break up those requirements of sitting on boards and overseeing and trying to be involved with some of these projects and be a lot more effective at it than just getting overviews and hopefully it goes right. I think myself, if it goes that way and we get people interested in it, we might end up with more people interested with 5 seats than just 3 to get another say. But, yeah, especially during the budget season, you kind of look at the calendar to see what night you can be on.
So I agree with many of the points that Dan brought up. I'm sure he didn't intend it this way, but I take a bit of exception with the fact implying that we might become too busy to take everything seriously. I don't find that for myself. I think we have, speaking for current board, we have really good skill set diversity. We each have a different skill set that I think has been very helpful. As far as overseeing things like water projects and such, I don't know that having a 5-member board, although I do support that, would have an impact on that. That's why we have a town administrator, department heads. You know, a board is more of, we oversee, we advise, manage at a higher level. We're not doing the day-to-day functions to run the town. That's my input.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Helen. Skeist. Sorry. This question is for, I guess, the select board and the attorney. I'm just wondering if today an amendment should be made to this warrant article so that if it is passed, we already have the mechanism to expand the board during this year. But maybe you don't need that. I don't know. So I guess my question is, if this amendment is passed, do people on the select board and our attorney feel like you know what would be the procedure for having people volunteer that they want to run for the office, or does it have to wait for a whole year?
So by operation of law, if this didn't go into effect, those positions would be created at the voting of the next town meeting. So the board, as it's currently configured now, in terms of a 3-member board, would stay a 3-member board for all of 2026. And then as you went into the 2027 town meeting, there would be candidates for those 2 positions as it expanded to 5. So those 2 new positions would be voted in on the 2027 town meeting.
Hey, Sadie. Hey, I don't recall my language being that you didn't take it seriously, and if that is how it was stated, it certainly wasn't intended. And duly noted, and no, I appreciate what you folks are doing, and I don't believe that there are items that you folks don't take seriously. That's not what I'm saying or intending at all. So, gotcha. Yeah, back at you. Thank you.
Further discussion, Article 20. All right, there being none, we'll place it on the warrant as written. Article 20, as amended. No, we didn't amend it. Article 21, see if the town, this is by petition, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,920 for the support of West Central Behavioral Health in fiscal year 2025, July 1, 24 through June 30, 25. West Central provided to 29 Canaan residents, including 11 children. As the region's nonprofit community mental health center, West Central Behavioral Health provides mental health services and substance use disorder treatment for many of the most vulnerable residents, including adults, children, and elders. Support from the town of Canaan will help us sustain our commitment to provide affordable mental health services to area residents. The Selectmen and the Budget Committee both recommend passage of Article 21. May I have a motion to discuss Article 21? And second? The primary petitioner for this article, well, is anybody here from West Central Health? The primary petitioner is Michael Kratz. Is Michael here? Since neither one of them are here, we'll open it for any discussion, if anybody has any discussion on Article 21.
Mark Wilson, Canaan. I just want to say I'm in favor of all these social agencies that we're hopefully get money to. And I would like to say that I'm very proud of the selectmen that they approve these. Thank you very much.
There being no further discussion, we'll place Article 21 on the ballot as written. Article 22, by petition, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $13,500 to Grafton County Senior Citizens Council through the Mascoma Area Senior Center and the Aging and Disability Resource Center for services for Canaan residents from July 1 to June 30th, 2024-25. The Mascoma Area Senior Center provides services for 132 Canaan residents, and Aging and Disability Resource Center provided services for 49 residents. These services included congregate meals, home delivered meals, transportation, outreach support, Aging and Disability Resource Center support, and more. The cost of providing these services was $139,252.15. The Selectmen and the Budget Committee both recommend the passage of Article 22. May I have a motion to discuss? Second? All right. The primary, is anyone here, a representative here from the Grafton County Senior Citizens Council? The first person that signed the warrant article was Debbie McDermott. Is she here? All right, we'll open it up for a regular discussion. Anybody care to discuss?
Well, I volunteer locally at the local senior center, and I just want to speak in favor of this article. I see services provided to elderly folks who desperately need them almost every day. It's a very, very worthwhile organization. These people receive traveling assistance, food assistance, et cetera, very, very worthwhile. And I would like to reiterate what I think Mark said. I'm proud of the Town Board of Selectmen being willing to recommend some of these helpful fundings. Thank you.
Further discussion? All right, we'll place that on the warrant as written. Article 23, by petition, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $7,588 for the operation of the following Tri-County Community Action Program, Inc. services, Canaan. Transportation, fuel and energy assistance, weatherization, guardianship, Head Start, Community Action Resource Coordinators, USDA TFAP, food distribution to pantries, and the free diaper distribution program. The Selectmen and the Budget Committee both recommend passage of Article 23. Can I have a motion to discuss? And a second? Thank you. Is there anyone, a representative here from the Tri-County Community Action? And then the first person to sign the petition was Monica Rowe. Is Monica here? Do you feel like you want to say anything about this? Okay. Just giving you the opportunity. All right, any further discussion on Article 23, Tri-County? There being no discussion, we'll place Article 23 on the ballot as written. Article 24, by petition, shall the town raise an appropriate sum of $2,100 to support the mission of WISE, providing free 24-hour crisis support services and advocacy to victims of domestic and sexual violence and stalking. The Selectmen and the Budget Committee recommend passage of Article 24. Can I have a motion to discuss? And a second? Thank you. Is anybody here from WISE to discuss this article? And how about let's see, who signed the petition? Looks like Jeffrey Wallace was the first person to. Oh, I guess I don't have we don't have that. Anyone care to discuss Article 24?
Nancy Burkham again, I have a question. According to this, the tax rate will be increased by no cents per thousand, and yet it would be $1.01 on the median home price. So I'm wondering if we could have that rate modified to actually reflect what it should be in order to actually get to some sort of tax increase?
The issue is, it's smaller than the 2 decimal places. It's .000. And
Well, I suppose, but it must be something.
well, it is. Yeah, there's a number of zeros. We're trying to stay within the 2 decimal places. That's why it shows that way. If we put 1 cent, that's way off.
Okay. Perhaps one would say then that it decreases the tax rate by less than 1 cent per thousand?
Yeah.
Just so it doesn't look quite so odd.
You can make that motion.
You can make an amendment. You have to sign it. You have to write it out and sign it.
Okay, where do I write it out?
Yeah, that's actually not part of it. That's just
Okay.
Do we need an actual amendment on the explanation?
No. That's not going to be on, is that going to be on the ballot?
Oh yeah, you've always put the amount on the ballot. I'm trying to have it be logical. That's all I'm going for, Darnie.
The remedy is to make an amendment.
So it's not technically part of the article, so this is just an administrative, administrative purposes only, so we can make the change without needing a formal amendment.
Oh, okay. Then we'll have the town clerk make the change.
I appreciate it.
Okay? Any further discussion on Article 24? There being none, we'll place it on the ballot as written. Article 25. By petition, shall the voters in the town of Canaan vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,135 to help support public transportation services in the town of Canaan for the upcoming fiscal year. The Board of Selectmen and the Budget Committee both recommend the passage of Article 25. May I have a motion to discuss? And a second. Thank you. This is anyone from Advanced Transit here? And Jeffrey Wallace is the first person that signed this petition? Is he here to introduce this petition article? Okay, he's not here, so we'll go ahead and open it up to the floor. Go ahead, Mark.
Mark Olson, Canaan. I just want to say I'm in favor of this. We have several, I have a friend that was disabled and how he paid his taxes and lived is he rode the advanced transit because he wasn't able to drive himself because of medical issues. My son has medical issues where he cannot drive and he uses his service, and that's how he supports himself in this town. And I just want to say thank you to the select board once again.
Further discussion? All right, we'll place Article 25 on the warrant as written. Is there any other legal business that can be conducted or needs to be discussed today?
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
I have a question with respect to Article 3, and I raise it now only because the language isn't specific. It has to do with revenue and expense on water and sewer, and all it is an information question. It's based on the MS 737. The question is relatively simple. In the MS 37, it indicates that expenses were made in 2025 for water and sewer. Yet on the section about revenues, it indicates there was no revenue from water and sewer. So I'm asking, how does that impact the final numbers that come out under the fund balance? And how are the payments, how are the expenses made in the water and sewer program if there was no revenue that came into the water and sewer program? And if there was revenue, why isn't it posted in the MS 737? Those numbers, if you need a reference of where they are, I'll be happy to give it to you. Nobody's asking, but if you look at page 11, you see under the revenue, under the items is actual revenues for the period ending 12/31/25. For sewer proprietary and water proprietary, it says 0 and 0. It does show what's estimated for the coming year for water and sewer, but that indicates that there was no actual revenue. Check back under expenses, and the expenses are on a different page. And if you look at those, it does indicate that there were expenses during that period. So again, the question is, was there really no revenue at all in water and sewer in last year? And if so, why isn't it posted on the 737?
Well, there was revenue for the water and sewer for 2025. I'm not sure if it's not in the 737. That's something we'll have to review and correct if it's not. So, but there was definitely revenue in 2025.
There's a corollary question, and that is you're looking at almost $1.1 million to come out of the fund balance to support this budget in the MS 737. And that's why I asked about the revenue side on water and sewer and whether that was booted into the fund balance. It just doesn't make any sense to me that we actually have the 1.1 million generated a new unassigned fund for balance, and yet we had no revenue on water and sewer. It's beyond this meeting, I think, but at least it ought to be referred to because that's the basis of these budgets.
Any other comments, questions, concerns? In general? Sure. Or you going to say something? Yeah. Okay. And go ahead, Chris. Can you move closer to the microphone?
I'd like to express gratitude for our moderator. Thank you, Dale, for doing a professional and respectful manner of conducting our meeting this year. Thank you.
I've been doing it too long.
would hope to kind of echo that sentiment. There was a bit of anxiety today that this was going to turn into an argumentative day, and I'm very thankful for everyone who came here to listen to all of us that it didn't. I'm very appreciative of that. And I would also add, looking around, I think it's not often in our community where you can have 10, 12, 15 people sitting in the same spot that may agree on one particular thing, but I think I'll take a stab at the fact that all of our board and committee members sitting up here would agree on one thing that we all notice is a very little involvement from the community as a whole. I think if nothing else, a takeaway from today would be stand up and stand out. Become involved. There are always multiple seats available during the election process, and then in my experience there are always multiple seats vacant on the boards. The 5-person select board, I have the same thought as far as we don't have enough people that step up, but I have to believe, like Scott said, maybe with the availability for more people to be on the board, it will give some folks the opportunity to step out of their box a bit. But thank you to everybody for a very civil meeting. It is very much appreciated, and I think I speak for the committee members up here.
It's still on, that's good. Before I hand it over to Sal, I would like to publicly acknowledge the time and effort that Sal, our chairperson, has led us with this year. It's hard to believe. I mean, in addition, he's also on the CIP and a few other things, but I'm finishing my second term on the Budget Committee, and I don't remember a better year than we've had this year, with that as organized, as composed, as prepared as we all were because of Sal's efforts, and I really want to acknowledge that publicly.
Everything that we've been saying, this is Brian Armbruster I'm the vice chair, Sal's vice chair, but I don't really have to do anything. Like most vice presidents, you get to sit there and kiss the babies, so if there's a baby. But anyway, I would like to thank everybody. If you have a chance, there's about 64 of us here today. It's about the same as we had last year. If you have a chance, pick a committee and go audit it. Either do it online, like we have about 8 people virtually today, and that's why the microphones are very important, that are auditing this today, but either do it electronically or come in and visit. You'll find out that the people around this table up front, and a lot of you that are on other committees in the audience, really do roll up the sleeves and beat each other up each meeting to make sure we are getting the best shake out of the shaker that we can get. We're getting every last little bit of pepper before we change it out. And the town administrator and all the folks who work every day, the clerk, all the offices, I've been impressed. I've been representing us now for 2 years, and the group we have really do want to get it down to where we're spending as little as possible, but getting the best bang for the buck. And I applaud everybody, especially my chair and the select board. Thank you.
All right. There's a countless number of hours that goes into the work behind this budget committee, on the CIP committee. All of the department heads and the town administrator and the finance director, with input from the select board, and we ultimately come up with what we hope is the best thing to help move Canaan forward. So I want to just thank everybody who's been involved in this process at every level. I actually enjoy doing this. I have fun doing it. I love the back and forth, and there's a lot of good work that gets done in all of these committees. Obviously, we'd love to have more people show up and get involved. I keep telling Dan, the more the merrier. So hopefully we can do it. Thank you very much, and we appreciate you coming out today. Thank you.
Anybody, any other comments? Questions or concerns? All right, so at this time, we're going to adjourn. We're on a two-session system here, so we're going to adjourn today, and we're going to reconvene for the second session, official ballot voting on March 10th, 8 o'clock in the morning to 7 p.m. at the Canaan Fire Station. And we'll see you there. Have a great day. Go Patriots!